My name is Alyssa, and I am a graduate student at Northwest Christian University, completing a master's degree in education. I have designated my focus throughout this program as adult education and training. For the past 5 years, I have been employed at Senior and Disabled Services, a state contracted agency that handles cases for seniors and disabled individuals who have been approved for Medicaid and food stamp programs. I determine financial eligibility for those programs. That position, while gratifying and challenging, has made me realize that I want to have a more active role in helping adults meet their educational and vocational goals, not just helping them survive or make ends meet by giving them medical and food assistance. My focus has been on adult education and training, as previously stated. And it was during a course discussion topic that I realized many of my classmates have had dissatisfactory experiences with trainings they have been to, which started me thinking about ways to improve the delivery of information and the techniques used in training programs given to employees through many different vocational fields. I had researched andragogy intensely throughout this program and was curious to see if incorporating these principles into training models could make a difference in the outcome of learning programs for adults. Unfortunately, due to my current job position, I was not able to actually implement this research. So the following presentation is a report on the project as proposed and an overall plan for implementing andragogically based techniques into training models. I chose this area because I personally have attended trainings that I felt were boring, pointless, left me feeling frustrated about the time spent not learning something new, and knowing that I was going to return to my job with expected performance standards from my employers without having been sufficiently trained to perform to those standards. I wanted to know if there was a way to present information in a way that was engaging, meaningful, and worthwhile to employees so they didn't feel that when they took on a new task they were overly frustrated or like they had just spent a lot of time away from their desks without learning any useful information or skills. I believe that if employees are going to be asked to give up time spent on their jobs, be taken away from their tasks to learn something new, their time should be treated with respect and they should be given the best training possible. From my own personal experience, management plays a big role in the success of newly implemented protocols and procedures, specifically in the support they give their employees. There were 3 things I wanted to address in this research: andragogy, implementation, and management's role in the outcome of training. Could it be possible to eliminate these symptoms of poor training? My first subject was andragogy, which is the study of how adults learn. There are 6 assumptions related to this. The first is need to know. Adults like to know why they need to learn new information, and making a connection with how this information will help the learner perform their job better, or how important it is to know this information, is a great way to get started with the training. Orientation. Adults prefer working with problem-centered information rather than content-centered. The new information is the problem, so it should be presented in a way that encourages the learner to figure out how it applies to them and their situation. Foundation. Build upon information the learners already know. Let other experienced instructors demonstrate new skills that encourage adult learners to utilize information they have previously learned so that they make a stronger connection to the new information. Self-concept. Let the learners practice new skills with one another. Allow them to take part in the instruction and provide ample opportunity for feedback. Readiness to learn. If an adult can be made to understand at the beginning of a presentation that this information will be immediately useful to them and will better enable them to perform tasks that are required of them in the present moment, they will be very ready to learn new information. Motivation. Learners will acknowledge new information better and pay more attention if they are internally motivated to succeed or excel. Presenting information to them in a way that can encourage motivation and by giving frequent constructive feedback is another great way to further encourage internal motivation for an adult learner. So, how does that relate to this research? Well, since my platform throughout this whole program has been adult education, andragogy actually plays a pretty key role in the rest of this research proposal. The second trend I came across when researching this project was implementation strategies and techniques. One of the more interesting things I came across here was the CERS model, which stands for Course Effort Survey Revised Model. It's based on the ARCS model of motivation, and ARCS, of course, is attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction. When that is combined with the CERS model, the attention category, the instructor is encouraged to capture the attention of the learner, engage the learner and make them feel enthusiastic about the subject, make the information seem important, and tries to relate the content back to things that the learner already knows. In terms of relevance, the instructor or trainer should present the information in a way that the adult learner will know it is useful. The instructor should allow time of practical application of the content, meaning ample time during the training to practice new skills. The instructor should try, although this is a challenge in adult workplaces, to make the level appropriate for all parties involved. If the information is not new to some people, they will have a hard time finding the relevance in the information being presented now. And on the other hand, if the information is something that a new employee has never heard about, they will also struggle to find the relevance of this training. Confidence. The instructor should try to make the learner feel comfortable, make the learner feel that they have the ability to complete this training and succeed with this new information. Make the requirements of success clear so that adult learners understand what is being expected of them. Give feedback, lots and lots of feedback, constructive feedback, so that the learner understands their areas of weakness and strengths. And try to make it so that everyone in the class can succeed, which again, with relevance, can be kind of tricky when you have varying levels of foundation knowledge. The last category here is satisfaction. The instructor needs to try and set a high level of standard so that adults feel that they have something to live up to or strive for. Give a lot of recognition to each student, acknowledge when they're doing well. Again, evaluation and feedback helps adult learners to feel satisfaction with their efforts and that their time is being well spent learning this new information. This ties into the principles of andragogy in that with the CERS model, the CERS model, there is a lot of opportunity to tie each of the ARCS model of motivation standards into the training. If you can find a way to wrap this all up, your training has the potential to be highly effective and well implemented. The third and final component that was prevalent in literature research for this proposal is the role that management can play in the success of a training module. In order to facilitate the highest success of training models, there must be support from management. In 2012, Saunders identified 5 features of change in vocational settings. Change is a process, not an event. Change is made by individuals first, then by organizations. Change is a personal experience and evokes emotional and behavioral responses based on individual thoughts and feelings, and change takes time. If management can support these elements in the implementation process of new protocol and procedure, the success will likely be higher. Management must provide time and be patient for staff to accept and adapt to the changes. They must implement andragogical elements of constructive and supportive feedback and must also provide ongoing coaching to staff. Individual personalities and identities need to be recognized and addressed if there are issues that arise, as the change begins with the person before it goes organizationally wide. Another recommendation for management is that adequate follow-up is provided to staff so that assistance may be provided as the staff work through the changes. Management must be patient and flexible for new training procedures to be fully implemented and adapted by their staff. After completing the literature review for this research proposal, I had 2 focus questions that I really wanted to answer with this research. The first, the primary question, does implementing andragogical principles into training programs affect employee motivation and job performance? And a secondary question from that is, how does management affect integration of skills and abilities learned in the training? From those 2 focus questions came my hypothesis. Introducing andragogical principles into training provided to employees, along with support from management, will instill higher motivation and enhance job performance of those employees. The method of this research will primarily be through data collection and analysis of the data collected. There will be 2 sets of data collection, one for management and one for employees. Management will be interviewed to determine what their expectations are of the training outcome, the amount of time they're willing to provide to the training, and the support to staff they anticipate providing once the training has been completed. Interview questions proposed to management will be structured as they are pertaining to a certain aspect of the research, management, and their ability to influence the success of andragogical implementations. The performance measures of staff will need to be updated to include andragogical measures of motivation and job performance for the duration of the research. Management will need to devise new evaluation criteria that is representative of the training and the requested behavior of employees. Management will also be given surveys to collect data on their opinion of the training and if they have noticed increased motivation and job performance from staff. In terms of the employee data collection, research participants will be interviewed after the training with specific questions pertaining to andragogical elements presented in the training. The questions will be directed but left open-ended, so participants will be able to answer in ways that provide insight to their opinions of the training. Participants will have ample time to answer, and the researcher will allow them to talk through their answers. These interviews will be semi-structured with directed questions regarding the andragogical elements, but with freedom for the participants to answer in a way that they may provide other information useful for the research. Employee participants will also be given a survey at the end of the training that asks specific questions, again pertaining to the andragogical principles that were embedded in the training model. The results will show whether or not the added principles of andragogy were effective in improving learner motivation and job performance. Before and after data from both sets will be comprised of questions that compare attitudes and opinions of participants, both management and employees, before and after the training. The data will be compiled to see if, in fact, adding andragogical elements into training models has increased job performance and employee satisfaction. Without having actually conducted this research, I can only anticipate what the results may be. In my mind, an effective training model will be composed of 3 specific components that should have been addressed in previous parts of this research. And those 3 components are andragogical principles, workplace factors that increase training effectiveness, and expectations of management and employees. If a training model is effective, the andragogical principles will have been applied, and the training model will be applicable to the employee's job. It will be practical and useful. It will increase knowledge by building upon an existing knowledge base, but will relate to job-related experiences and relevant information as well. Participants will be provided feedback that is corrective, informative, and positive. And they will have been provided an enriching training experience with ample opportunities for interaction that include time for communication between the employee and the trainer. The workplace factors that increase training effectiveness will be through organizational support, specifically through management. They will be providing an appropriate length of training time, ongoing support in the workplace, and a constructivist themed training that is learner-centered or problem-centered. They will also be providing the necessary tools to maximize training and implementation of new skills through follow-up support and additional technology tools. The expectations of the employee by management will be made clear. Employees will have knowledge enhancement, better performance of targeted skills, and higher job satisfaction among employees. Employees will no longer dread going to trainings, and ideally, they will love their job and be happy and motivated to come to work every day. In conclusion, this research, though it's yet to be carried out at this point, is important because training adults properly can provide an increase in individual motivation and job performance. In theory, when andragogical elements are embedded into training models. This can improve satisfaction for both employee and employer. If the 6 assumptions of andragogy, self-directedness, need to know, experience of learning, learning readiness, orientation to learning, and internal motivation are addressed, the benefits to all parties involved become clear. This is important as employees and employers invest a lot of time and energy into their working lives. Research in this area can be applied to many different vocational fields and has the potential to yield highly motivated employees, engaged employees, and higher performing staff. Thank you.